Hey, we're live. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Indie Volt Live Wire, and I gotta quit punching my microphone when I try to do invocation with my crippled hands. I'm not off to a good start. Hey, but it's Tuesday night. We got a whole bunch of great guests and some really cool campaigns that we're going to take a look at. So we're going to do a quick round of hellos, and then I'll run the intro. My name's Eric. Nice to be here. Co-hosting with me tonight, the lovely Indie Princess. How are you doing?
I'm here.
That's all.
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging tough.
All right. And then we have Adrian with us. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
Doing all right. Can't wait to get to those campaigns. Steph, how are you this evening?
Doing well, all things considered. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We do everything we can to try to highlight what's going on with independent creators and such. Like Murph, you're joining us. This is the first time for you, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Good to have you.
Yeah, trying to do a world tour.
That's what you got to do. And Mr. Matt Knowles.
Hey, what's going on? Like Steph said, glad to be here. Glad to finally be able to get back on here and talk some good comics and some campaigns.
Sounds good. Paul, you with us tonight, man? Paul was having some technical difficulties earlier before we went live, so we're hoping that all gets sorts out. So to kill a little bit of time while we get that sorted out, here's our lovely intro.
How's it going?
And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? Now, get your hands off me.
The following program contains violence, disturbing imagery, nudity, and, oh my God, why are you even watching this? Just run away. This shit is going to give you nightmares. For real. The program is rated TV MA NSFW OMFG GAF TTV BYGAS. Why are you still here? Seriously, don't watch this. We can't warn you strongly enough. Do you need a doctor of some kind? What is the matter with you?
The difference is near. It's a rainbow. The masses will hear. In the boat, let the people cheer. It's in the boat. The blood starts here.
All right. You know, on the sidebar here, there's a whole listing of images, and then there's a listing of video clips. For some reason, the thumbnail is the same on a warning image as it is on a warning video. So that's what kind of tripped me up there. Anyway, we got a wonderful show tonight. We got some great guests. Indie Princess, do we have any questions tonight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, well, I
I've
want to
been
pose.
checking the emails, but nothing right now.
Sounds good. We can work with that because I want to talk a little bit about something that happened to me over the weekend and kind of pose it as a question because you know I do conventions, like 1 or 2 conventions every month. I've been doing this for about a decade now, and you come up with some interesting stories. Well, something happened to me on my trip to Fairbanks, Alaska for Alaska Comic Con that I never could have imagined would happen. So my trip was grueling. So to get out there, it was 3 different flights, 3 different layovers, about 17 hours. So, and I get to the show on the day of the show. I got 45 minutes to set up before people start coming in the door. I get, that's okay. I've got this down to a science. I got it up, and but by the end of the show, first day, I've been going on about, I don't know, close to 30 hours without sleep. without like a full night's sleep. You know, I got maybe an hour here on the plane, an hour at the airport, of some light napping. But so I was starting to kind of go crazy. So I took a couple of my little gummies that I take with me and hoping to like kind of settle out. I just could not wait to get the hotel room and go to sleep. So I get to the hotel, take my my cabbie takes me up to the hotel, which isn't very far away. And I go into the lobby and there's a couple of ladies there on the phone, like trying to call the support line for this hotel because there's nobody behind the counter. And there's a sign, just handwritten sign that says, "No rooms, sorry." Like, yeah. I posted it on my Twitter because it was the saddest looking thing ever. But yeah, so for the longest time, probably about 20 minutes, we're just like, hello. I open up the doors. They're all unlocked. This is mysterious as hell. I could just walk in the office and do whatever I wanted if I was a scumbag. And nobody there. And then suddenly this old guy comes up, and I assume he's like the maintenance guy because he kind of had his shit together, but kind of not. So definitely that maintenance guy vibe. So he begins to explain to us that the previous snowstorm had left a lot of ice on the ceiling. Some rooms have caved in. There were some leaks. So they didn't have enough rooms for everybody that had reservations, which is a problem because every other hotel in the city is booked solid. And there's a whole bunch of us in this lobby with reservations. So we're all on the phone to our various places that get us to get a hotel room, trying to get something else. I could not get through it to hotels.com at all. And I eventually give up because I'm starting to wig out at this point. Like the gummies have hit, the situation has hit. I need to collapse and sleep. And it's just not going well in my mind. They figure out something on their end, and I'm just like alone in this empty hotel. The guy comes back and explains to me that the manager said, "Look, I know this was a bad position. There's nothing we can do about it. We're happy to pay for a taxi to wherever you want to go. I recommend you go to the homeless shelter."
Oh,
What?
So here I am, 40-something years old in the middle of nowhere in Alaska at the prospect of sleeping in a homeless shelter. And I'm really starting to wig out over this. And I got this $10 in my hand. I'm just leaning up against the door, waiting for this cab that never arrives. Finally, the motel manager comes back and explains, and explains that, okay, if you can come upstairs with me, I might have a room for you, but I want you to look at it because it's under construction, under renovation. I'm like, lady, if it's got a bed and hot water, I don't care. So this was probably an hour's worth of ordeal, and I finally end up getting a room. Wait a little bit longer for her to get some towels in there, and it's just like the radiator's been disassembled, and there's some wires coming out of the wall for, I don't know, it just hadn't been finished yet. And finally got a room, went and ate me some pancakes at the Denny's nearby, and then just collapsed. But the prospect of spending the night at a homeless shelter, and I just had a really good day at the show, so I had some money on me, and I'm like, this could end very badly if I end up doing this. So thank God that they found a room. But so if you want to react to that, go right ahead. But I'd love to hear what are some of your worst experiences, especially if you do cons, that you've gone through. Like what's the top of the list?
I travel more than anybody else I know. And it's become a running joke for anybody that knows me and follows my Facebook that if something is going to go wrong during travel, it's going to go wrong with me. So everything that you could possibly imagine, including a week ago today, where I flew for 18 hours straight just to get across the country. It's I have so many stories that I've never had that happen, although I have definitely had a couple of times where I thought I was going to have to spend the night in an airport because of snowstorms and stuff. So yeah,
well, I've slept in plenty of airports, but Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from last January, so 13 months ago, we do a steampunk show every year, and normally there's a bunch of us that go. Steph wasn't able to go; she was just recovering from surgery, and I stayed in the hotel by myself, and I was like, you know what? The show got done. I'm going to go. I'm just going to take a nap for a little bit. Hopefully these annoying people that are outside the room are going to calm down with their party that's going on. And I was texting Steph, letting her know how the show is going. And then I hear this commotion about 8:30 in the room next to me. James, come on, buddy. James, you got to wake up. And it's going on for a little bit. And I'm like, Steph, I think somebody just died in the room next to me. And and there's a female voice talking about how should we call 911? No, and these two people are arguing for like 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, they finally call 911, and the ambulance gets here. They're digging through people's cars, all kinds of stuff. And I guess because it was on the second floor, they couldn't get the gurney up there. So they carry this dude's body out on this sheet. And I look and I'm like, I'm peeking out the window, and I was like, dude, I guess the guy's not dead because they didn't have his face covered up, but they carry him out that way. And there's a lot of other things that happen, between this punchline and the next punchline. But I go out to get something to eat, and I talk to the cops. I'm like, hey, look, I'm a witness. I can hear everything that was going on in this room. And I said, the way they're portraying it to you is not what happened. They took 15 minutes to call the cops, and that if somebody's going to wait that long, there's something going on as to whatever. But I'm like,
we need to flush some things before they show up.
Yep. So I'm like, let me give you a witness statement. And they said, yeah, you can go get something to eat. We'll be out here all night. We'll come get your witness statement later. So I'm like, well, at least I'm going to get some peace and quiet. I get back to the room after I eat dinner, and it's about 1:00, and I start hearing voices next door, and these people are back in the room. And I'm like, what is going on? So I give the police another witness, or I give the police my witness statement. I come back to the room, try and sleep. About 3:30 in the morning, it sounds like an exorcism is happening in the room next door. I mean, I'm freaking out because of the wall is shaking, and I hear like people puking and all this. And I'm like, this doesn't even make any freaking sense. I'm like, these people need to calm down. Well, 6:00 in the morning comes around. Here's the police again and the ambulance. And there is a second drug overdose death that happens probably a couple of feet from my head.
Oh, man.
So the lady that was screaming about, should we call 911, freaking croaked in the room right next to me from the drug. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous crap I've ever had happen to me in a hotel room at a show. I was pissed.
That's why we stay at Airbnbs. I got to ask really quick. Josh C. Lyman says, Palm Spring Comic Expo. You talking about the one in 2018 where they said we were all guests and they were going to pay for our rooms and then they didn't? Because I'm pretty sure that's probably it. Because I was there. I remember the legendary Palm Spring Comic Expo. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, Palm Springs, Josh was almost escorted out of the building by police.
Oh. Well, actually, I think I witnessed that.
Josh, buddy, if you want a link and you want to
honestly
pop in and
remember
tell
this.
the story, please let me know. I'll send it to you.
There were a lot of angry vendors at that show.
Yeah, that was one of those shows where it would have been
Yep,
nice
that's
to
the
know.
one. Yes.
It would have been nice to know that the husband and wife were fighting with their own conventions against each other.
Yeah. It was a mess. That was my very first con ever. Not like as a non-get, like a not attendee, like a vendor. That was my very first one. That was my experience.
That must have really soured it for you.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yep, I was there. I remember that.
What do you guys all sell at the cons? What are you guys going to the cons for?
Well, for me, I'm an artist, comic book artist and a fan artist. I do a lot of anime, a lot of wrestling stuff. That's what I'm most known for. I did the Roddy Piper Kilted Avenger book, so I've been trying to bring that with me to every show for on tour and promoting all that stuff. I got my webtoon Dinosaur Man, which I'm trying to promote that as well. So that's kind of the gig. I've been doing this for I haven't had a real day job probably in about 12 years. So it's just been cons and doing books.
When did the cons start up again? Because I know they were gone because of COVID. How long have they been going? Because even here in Ohio,
I can tell you this, being in Florida, I was in a whole different experience than everybody else because the very first con back in the country after COVID hit was in July of 2020 in Florida, which was Collective Con Jacksonville. And that con actually set the template for all the other cons out there in the country. Everybody was mocking it. This is going to be a super spreader. How can these idiots run a con? This is ridiculous. But Steph flew in. I was the panel host and doing all their celebrity interviews and all that. And it was the most well-behaved con I have ever seen. Everybody had been cooped up for 3 to 4 months. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to get out. Everybody played by the rules, and it truly set the template for everybody else out there. It was so cool knowing that the eyes of the country were looking at this mid to small size con as, will this actually work?
Yeah.
But
I did Otaku Fest and MetroCon in Florida. I was a guest at WrestleCon that they had in Tampa Bay that year. So, you know, it only probably stopped for me for about 8 months and then picked back up again. I had a bunch of exclusives and stuff that I did through High Spots that kind of took over for not having cons for a few months. But as soon as there was some ready back up, I went right back out there.
Yeah, I've never sold anything at con, but me and my illustrator, we were going to do that at least here in Ohio, try to get some tables. Is it worth it to go to like all of them, even with the travel and everything?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You've got to really calculate whether or not it's in your budget and what you're doing. Like for me, I try to stay with as many people as possible. Josh is one of my traveling buddies, coming to us live from inside of his truck.
Hey,
What's up, Josh in truck?
You want to tell us about tell everybody about Palm Springs, your experience?
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one here aside from Eric that had that malady. But
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Long story short, Palm Springs was supposedly it was supposed to be the very first show ever. We were told that it was going to be the first one ever in that area. Yep. We hadn't known that it was the ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife of the person who was running the local show. And then they originally had what was his name? Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sean I remember this that Sean asked out at the last minute.
So Sean, the very last minute, they're like, "Oh, we're switching him out for Ray Parks." So we're like, "Okay, cool. Well, Ray Parks isn't bad." And, Eric and I both got like 10 by 20 boots. And I'm just going to fast forward. Friday, we found out that it wasn't a 3-day show, that they were just going and doing setup. And then the VIP pre-party, etc., was going to be across town. I was at an Airbnb. Eric was at some, reject from the 70s hotel.
It was awesome.
Because it was his honeymoon and he loves those. So I wasn't staying in the same hotel for that reason. But joke aside, show up the next day. It's very, very empty. I'd say around 4 o'clock in the middle of the day. The reason I remember this is that there's this kid, he shows up wearing a P.T. Barnum show outfit from The Greatest Showman. And it was like, all right, cool. And then we'd already had like 3 or 4 groups of volunteers show up. And they were like, hey, did you want to donate anything for the volunteers? By the way, this and this. We had while doing setups, Eric and I have both had people come in and go, hey, we're investors in the show. And we just bought into the Walking Dead shows that they were doing back in the day. I don't remember what they're called now because they don't exist. I think it was but it was one of those like, oh, sweet. So we started talking to them, so on and so forth. End of the day, we started looking at all these video edits and things on the that the show is posted, and they're like doing super tight zoom ins on people's booths, and they've hit every single booth except for ours, like literally zoomed in on everybody. Panels where there were 3 guests, there were like 2 people in the audience, and they're zoomed in as tight as possible for that. The P.T. Barnum kid, they had him do this dramatic entrance, and you could literally see vendors just staring at the camera in the empty floor while they're doing this cutscene. I had a couple of friends that were cosplayers, lots of artists that were guests that were showing up, and they had been invited for free. And we had gotten our booths like super cheap. But, it just got to that point, and we found all this out. Saturday night, we said, forget it. We're going to the Total Wine. And I try not to be that guy ever at a show, even if it's a really slow show, but it was just icing upon icing upon icing. And then we found out the very next day that most of the guests didn't get paid. And so maybe first hour or so, all of the voice actors and everything said, we're going behind the thing because we're not getting paid. We're not going to come out unless somebody's really looking for us. We're not going to disappoint the fans, do all this. And Eric and I are like right across from like Ray Park and a couple of this, and we're just sitting there, and I'm officially just tired of staring at an empty floor. And this is why I almost got escorted out by police. I had a couple more volunteers come by, and we still had a bottle of Kraken, so I proceeded to walk around and just go and hand people shots of Kraken. Like,
oh my God, I remember this. I totally remember this.
I was like, anybody want Kraken? Okay, we're going to drink.
We totally interacted and didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I'm in disguise. I'm not wearing all the purple and the shiny
yes.
and bouncy. So I go in incognito when I go to the movies. It's like, leave me be. But yeah, so I got tired. We got everybody. We finished the bottle and just nice day buzz. And I got tired of staring at this empty carpet in front of me for several hours. And the show was ending at like 5 o'clock on a Sunday, which was like, we had already had the same people. I know I barely broke even with super low cost. Erik did not break even for that show. And I know this is a little thing, but it's part of the tragedy of the show is that they had super upped their publicity about the show, about it was being ran by all women and it was going to be the first of its kind. It was going to be all this. And so this little short dude with like a buzz cut and an attitude walks up to me while I'm just kind of being bored and throwing pieces of paper. Now, part of this, I'd actually said, a security guard had walked by and said, I'm going to pick him up. Don't worry. I'm just tired of staring at carpet. And he was like, yeah, I get it, man. No worries. Well, this short dude with the attitude comes in and he's got a staff badge. And I'm like, this is no woman. This is not reverse Lord of the Rings. What's going He's like, I can't believe you would do this. It's the most unprofessional thing. I can't believe that you would possibly do this. Now, during the course of me creating my own confetti for entertainment, I'd already been slowly packing up my cases and everything up on top of the table. I'd had a couple of commissions I was waiting to get picked up. But I don't know about anybody else. When it's that kind of bad show, you're just like, you're not going to respond well to somebody that's going to try and tell you what to do. So I just kind of stared at him, and he's like, pick it up. And I was like, I will. And he's like, do it now. And I was like, I'll get to it. And he's like, am I going to have to get the police involved? Because you're clearly drunk. And I was like, well, I have been drinking, but I'm not drunk. So I text Erik at this point because the cops, they're all walking around in this group of like 6 or 8 guys, just walking around holding on to their vests. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to pick up this paper, but there's a chance I might get escorted out of here, just as a heads up. And, anyways, so the cops walk over. And I try to explain what's going on. This man had no authority because this guy, as it turns out, he runs a show out of Dallas that only accepts comic book artists, but only of a specific pedigree that he considers. Needless to say, I don't go to that show. But he'd come there to support his former friend's wife, I guess, in her new endeavor. TMI, but short version, for the last hour and a half, 2 hours of the show, I had cops on both sides of my booth while I was continuing to shut down my booth. After they're like, you're gonna shut down. I'm like, I'm very clearly shutting down already. But it was so bad because those horrible bingo questions that you get at shows, like, are you the artist? Did you draw this? Man, I can't even draw a stick figure. Both of those cops were asking me these questions while I was back. And the show ends at 5. And at 4:59, I'm just kind of packing, handing things to people. And I look up and the cops are gone. And the show, everyone's just shutting down. And we found out later on that a lot of the guest artists, they were supposed to get their hotels comped. They were supposed to get like their plane tickets, all sorts of things.
Yep.
And they woke up Sunday morning and they've been charged like $400, $500, $600.
$600. Yep. I never would have stayed at that hotel had I known. They told me it was all expenses paid. I had a freaking chauffeur. I was nobody. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? And I stayed at that hotel under the impression they told me all expenses paid. You're a guest. And I went to go check it out, and they're like, "That'll be $648." And I'm like, "No,
like, so what?
600, yeah, it was $650 that I had to pay when I was not told that." And I sent many angry emails, and they never responded to me. I called their number. I called every number. There was furious guests because we were all checking out at the same time. Yep. Learned a hard lesson that day.
Crazy, right?
So Murph, if you are you, don't do anything at Palm Springs Expo. It is not worth it.
That show is defunct. It long
Oh yeah, it's
ago.
long gone.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, the one last kicker to this is that the person who runs that Dallas show, apparently he is one of the main people on the Rate That Comic Con. He's one of the main groups, advisors, supervisors, whatever have you. And we finished everything and we flew home. And next thing I know, I got messages from a bunch of vendors who didn't go to that show because they were like, "Yo, is this you? What's going on?" Because I like woke up and I saw like screen caps of everything, and basically it was this man said that I was arrested by the police. Man, I'm running quick.
Hey, you still got some good promo. You got some good promo, some good FaceTime of this crazy show.
Right? It's like one of those, but I learned my lessons, and Erik got to see me like totally like 4 sheets to the wind, just done. I was officially done. At the end of the show, I was like, Erik, I'm not driving. I'm not doing anything. I'm finishing out whatever is left here, and we're gonna go get burritos. And I think I ate like 2 burritos, and then we went and got Mexican again. And then we drove for like 6 hours.
That was some damn good burrito food too.
It really were. That's the only highlight of Palm Springs I'll get. You know. But yeah, definitely easily that one. And then the only other one I can think of that would be a bad experience would be one I did in Atlantic City. And that's a story for another time. I'm going to yield my time to everybody else. Thank you for putting up with my random rant. I got about 20 minutes before I go see my 3rd movie of the day.
Oh, geez. What you going to go see?
I'm going to go see Scream.
Nice.
Well,
I've heard good things about it.
There's slim pickings. Let me put it this way. I started the day with Uncharted, and I'm really glad I have the AMC Movie Pass for that reason. And then I went and saw The Cursed, which was pretty darn good.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, surprisingly really good. It's like, you know, a little bit of Irish lore mixed with gypsies and werewolves. You know, there's a couple of random plot holes in it, but it's a lot better than Uncharted. So, yeah. That should tell you a lot. All right, who's next?
Murph, I would say, kind of like what Erik had alluded to earlier, don't look at every con and don't look at every show as being equal across the board. You want to look at shows that there are going to be some, hey, I just want to go and have the experience of going to that specific event. Yeah. And you might say, hey, I know that I'm going to not make my money back. Like, for instance, Steph and I were at LA Comic-Con this year. For the first time, we actually went to a show since we've had in Symmetry Creations, and we didn't have a booth. We purposely didn't have a booth because Steph was on a Kickstarter panel. We had signings at the Scout Comics booth, and I hosted the Glow Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling panel at LA Comic-Con. So we had things to do there, and we got to see a lot of our friends and, you know, get some FaceTime with people. And that actually was a quote unquote profitable show for us, and not money wise, but we got to do some things that we wouldn't have been able to do if we would have had a table. But a lot of times you go to shows like, for instance, we were at AwesomeCon DC. Great show, tons of money that came through that show. But the booth costs for that show were astronomical. And so even though we had shared it with Scout Comics and Scoot Comics and Richard Rivera from Stabity Bunny, and we sold more Stabity Bunny stuff at that show between Steph and I than we have ever sold of our own stuff at a show. And the booth barely broke even.
Wow.
Because there was just so much expense to the show. Well, between that and the Airbnb and all that, but all the expenses put together. So let me say that. But we've had a lot of success getting signings at local comic book shops too, especially for someone like yourself who's never done a show. See if there's a local comic shop that would want to have you in there to do something. They're probably not going to charge you. And they're going to be able to have an event that's going to be able to be drawn into their establishment. And that might be a good way to get used to pitching and understanding how to interact with the, you know, the potential customers and potential fans before you go and shell out hundreds of bucks for a table and then more money for an Airbnb or a hotel and just kind of get your feet wet that way. That's one path that you could potentially take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking travel would be the big thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. You conquer your local situation as best you can first. Do events where you can sleep in your own bed at night, and then start branching out to cons that are smaller. But it's a cheap booth, but you still got people there. Don't bite off giant chunks of like New York Comic Con or MegaCon or anything like that, because it's just going to eat your money away. And you'll have some hard mistakes to learn from.
Mm-hmm. Well, I live in Columbus, Ohio, so there's a good number of big enough cities that the travel's not that far. Where I wouldn't have to stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done little things, and it was really fun before we even had the book, just like advertising, and that was fun. Like little small ones that were free booths. But yeah, it's very fun. I think it's awesome. Just meeting people, and
it's a different vibe than if you're just trying to promote online or sell online, for sure.
Yeah.
It's better than talking out into the void, at least, to say the least.
Sure.
I think the only other advice with shows that I might even consider is don't over tap your own market. And like if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, you're pretty much, like 6-7 hours to Chicago, like anything in that range.
Yeah, it'd probably be that. Yeah, I'd say about that.
Because I got a few people over there with like Mike Watson, and back when a few of the other guys with that crew used to be down there, and Christina and whatnot. So yeah, they all like run around Ohio, but it's like perfect example. I'm currently living in Dallas. There's literally 5 or 6 shows in the Dallas area every single week, and it is ludicrous. There'll be mall shows and event centers and convention centers in cities that I didn't know existed on this cobweb that is considered part of the Dallas area. And they're all like collecticons or card shows or specific niches. So, if you overtap your own market, then suddenly you're like, they'll be like, oh, I'll see you at the next local one. I'll see you at that one. So, I think Eric and I are slowly learning this habit of don't go to the same show every single year, even if, you have a really good year, and you'll be like, nah, look at the balance. And you're like, have I been back to Hawaii? Like, I need to go back to Hawaii.
Steph and I try to make it a rule for us that if we're going to do the same show every year, our rule is we want to make sure we have something new when we go back to that same show.
Oh yeah,
we always don't want to go back to the show and be like, oh, we have nothing new for you, because some people will want to come and be like, what don't I have that you have? And if we're like, nothing, you have everything. They were looking to buy something from you, but we didn't have something new for them. So we try to always make sure when we're in that market again, we have something new for that person.
The other thing we try to do too is if it's a one-day show and it's out of town, we try to pair it up and try to make a relationship with the LCS there and do a signing at the same time. We haven't always been able to do that, but there's been a few times that we've managed to do, okay, there's this one-day show on a Saturday for 6 hours. Let's do a comic shop signing. And you'd be surprised at how many comic shops will say yes, they'll have you if you politely ask them, hey, I'm in town. This is what we're about. We'd love to come and do a signing while we're there. And that way you kind of maximize your time a little bit more.
Oh, cool.
Good advice.
Just to throw something out there. One thing you may want to keep in mind when you're doing shows is that it's more than just sales. You're there to network. You're there to meet people, make connections. Because kind of going back to that initial question of horrible con experiences, I did one that wasn't a comic show. It was actually a film convention for independent filmmakers. And it was horrible. I wasn't making sales. There was hardly any foot traffic. And I'm just sitting around like, oh, why am I here? And this independent filmmaker just happens to go by. And I look at him, I'm like, he looks familiar. And it's Brian Polito. And I'm like, wonder if I can just ask him some questions, because I was a real big Lady Death fan. And I asked him some questions about filmmaking and stuff, and just the business of comic books. And he looks at me He looks at my table, at my books, and then he says, Adrian, and he points to 2 chairs and he says, sit down. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. And so the interesting thing about that, we talked for about 45 minutes, and he gave me some really good insight about what I was doing right and what I was not doing right. Most of it was what I was not doing right, and some of the things that he went through. And he said, take some time off before you do your next book. Take a year off. I ended up taking 4 years off. So even the quote bad things that happen in these shows can ultimately kind of work towards you and work towards your advantage. And so just be aware of that, I would say.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah,
really good point.
definitely. Networking is definitely part of it. It's just, yeah, it's that finding that right balance of like choosing who you hang out with as well. You know, it's like if you see down the road, like Brian, that's a chapter for another day for me. But he's an interesting individual. So, but yeah, if it hadn't been for shows, I've had shows that were crap shows where I was like, I'm going back to the hotel and I'm gonna go take a nap. And those are very few and far between, but it'll be like I'll wake up and then everybody's down in the hotel bar or the hotel lounge. And that connection has been a connection that has, you know, helped me or benefited me in moving forward in the last 3 or 4 years. And it's like, you never know. It's all that stuff after we've been caged up like little zoo animals all day long, pacing our 6 to 8 feet. You're like, hi, look at my thing, look at my thing, look at my thing. Hi, how's it going? Let me raise my octave up 3 ways so it seems like I'm more pleasant. Eric, I got a microphone. That lasted what, a year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the things that we actually had happen this past year too, which we haven't seen happen quite as much as we did this past year, was sometimes your sales are going to be quick hitters. Sometimes they're going to be slow burns. Sometimes people are going to buy from you as soon as they come to your table. Sometimes they might not buy from you for 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah.
Like I had one show where I had like 4 people in a row that were like, I've seen you at the last 4 shows that I did. Now I'm going to stop here and buy something. I was like, oh, that was cool. And another was like, hey, I saw you guys at something over the summer and I didn't get a chance to see you. And now I'm going to buy something. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it was like all these people that came up and they had seen, and the name was in their head. They had seen the kind of booth that Steph and I had, and they finally decided to stop that time. And I'm like, you never know the impression you're going to make on somebody, even at a bad show. So you always have to keep that in mind that, you know, maybe you don't, you know, throw spitballs at the security guard and have him put crappy, no, just kidding with you, man.
It was the floor. And the security guard was cool with it. He thought it was funny. He was like, well, you know, at least it's entertaining, because he was in the corner just watching me. It's like, you know, we had bad cell phone reception. So, but I will say this: I've literally never, before or after, acted in that fashion at a show. And it was super eye opening. It was just one of those, everything that possibly could have gone awry, and I just don't like being lied to. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's just being like, hey, you know, I'll see you to the next one. You're from Texas. You go to all the Texas shows, right? No. I mean, you know, it's what it is. And the slow burner, you're right. It's going to be some days it'll be you're there and, you know, nothing. And then the very last day somebody buys 3 or 4 originals. You never know, you know, and I'll make it all up. Definitely thoughts that there's always going to be pros and cons to any situation too. So it's like, rooming with people, you know I talk in my sleep. I know Eric snores a little, you know, it's saving money, but that's a pro.
Little.
Shows. So
Eric snores a lot.
Yeah, just a little.
Lies.
A little.
All lies.
He does require a mountain of pillows, though. It's like a dragon.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So we go sort that, but we digress.
So you got a movie to go to. I don't want you to
I
miss
do.
it.
I appreciate you guys. Apologize for the background noise. It's one of those floating parking lots here. So
tell everybody listening what your website is before you kick out of here.
What's that?
Tell everybody what your website is.
It's boring. It's artofjoshlyman.com, and all my social media is the same thing, Art of Josh Lyman. just finished all my SEO and all that fun tax, and I got to put some more stuff up. There is currently a group of people with a dog-based Kickstarter that I'll be doing some variants for that comes out very soon. So, yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
I know what
Sounds
that
good,
one
man.
is.
Hmm?
I said, I think I know what that one is.
Yeah, 4 issues. Let's leave it at that. So,
Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good night.
hope you guys have a great one. Thanks for having me in. Cheers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into the campaigns, but first, we have a special little, when we're doing these campaigns, you're going to print the books, you got to wrap everything up in a nice package, and there's no greater package to put a comic book in than a Gemini mailer. And for all you listeners out there and watchers on YouTube, we have a 10% discount code. Use code VOLT10. That's right, VOLT10, and you can get 10% off that order of 1,000 Gemini mailers so that you can mail out your books in style, and they'll get there safe. It's not like taking a yellow envelope and just sticking a comic book in there, no bag, crumpling it up and putting it in the mailbox. That has happened, and you don't want to do that. So get yourselves the Lexus of comic book mailers, Gemini, and use coupon code VOLT10, save 10%. All right. You know what, Adrian? We have your. Let's see. Here we go. You want to do your website, or you want to do your Amazon listing?
Why not both?
Okay. Let's start out with the Amazon listing. This is your Decadence in Avery paperback. Am I saying that right?
Decadence and Avoria.
Avoria. Okay. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. Well, Decadence and Avoria is a story about a young man named Maxwell Lightfoot. He's a Native American man who has been exiled from his tribe and his reservation, basically being a loser. And he goes and he has been trained by a very mysterious man who goes by the name of Darius Key. And he finds out that this man who has trained him in these arts of hunting demons and banishing demons, Darius Key is actually an apostle that has been risen from the dead after he hung himself for betraying his master for 30 pieces of silver.
Oh, wow.
And Darius Key is towards the end of his tenure of being on the earth for like 2,000 years. And he needs a replacement. That is who Maxwell Lightfoot is. Now, Avoria is an angel who has been kind of charged with being a helpmate in this quest of being the premier demon hunter now that Darius Key thinks he's about to retire or even die. The book itself, I didn't really know how to classify what it is. It's not a comic book. For lack of a better term, I call it a photo novel. And when you look in it, you actually see what I mean when I say it is a photo novel. Because there are no illustrations.
Okay.
There are no comic bubbles. Everybody is played by a real person in real sets, which ultimately was most of it was my garage. Even that picture you're looking at right there. Because I'm broke. But you do what you got to do to get the image and then to get the vision that you want done. And here's the picture. The book is,
Let me.
can give you a better look here. And just a few pages here.
Oh yeah.
Of all the things that Maxwell has to go through, because he goes through being this spoiled rich kid to being completely broke and being completely down and out on his luck. He has no friends. He can't get laid anymore because he is broke. And he's basically got nothing except Avoria and this mission that he's not even sure that he wants. And this is, I'm a very character driven kind of author. I don't really focus a whole lot on storylines so much as the growth of individuals, and I focus a lot on redemption and how much, or can anyone truly be forgiven for things that they do that are horrible. And he does some horrible stuff that will be revealed later, and he's on his road to redemption.
Wow. Sounds like a really cool story. That's
thank you.
Yep. And so that's available on Amazon right now in paperback. It is a 54-page book, and basically comic book size, like 6 by 10. So definitely want to, if you guys are interested in that, check this out. We're going to take a look at his website here, Jericho Projects Publishing, and looks like you got a bit of a blog here, some gallery, some character bios.
Yeah, I got 3 or 4 different titles going on.
Okay.
Because my mind jumps around a lot, and I like to play around with different storylines and different types of people. Miss Johnny there, she's a housewife that was suicidal and overweight, and she gets charged with a mission when one of her children gets kidnapped, and she's on a mission to find her missing child. And that whole storyline, which is actually completed now, by the way, that's the very first storyline that I truly did that was actually halfway decent. I'll just say that. And her friend Asia Caroline and Lennox.
All right. So you have several projects in the works, and so the main one that's that's finished is the Decadence in Avoria, correct?
Yeah, if you go on that site and go to About and go down to Merchandise.
There we are. All right. You got a lot more.
Oh yeah, I never stop writing. I've got 3 scripts that are in various stages of being done or complete in rough draft, along with those books that are already done right there. So yeah, I'm always working. I've always got something going on.
All right. And that's JerichoProjects.com that we're at. You can check out all his whole catalog of work. And looks like you got quite a bit going on. I like that your stories seem to have a lot of depth to it. Seems like you're like you said earlier, you're focused on the redemptive arcs, and then you got the one story of the mom trying to find her child. So there's a lot of depth to that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I really don't like the idea of, well, let me not say I don't like the idea, because I do. But the guys who dress in spandex and they beat up bad guys, I love those. I do those. Okay. But if I don't care about them, what makes it any different? Because I don't care about Spider-Man. I care about Peter Parker. And that's the way that I write.
So John Anthony is writing in here. He's got a question. How long do you work at developing a character before you feel you really know them? Adrian, do you feel like you really know your characters at this point?
Oh, no. I write, every time I write, I find out something new. And they reveal themselves to me every time I sit down. Even when I'm writing complete crap, I am learning about them. And they do things that surprise me, because I'll have one thing in my head, like, oh, I think this person's going to turn left. And of course they turn right. And I learn every day. And they teach me a lot about human nature, because when you think you know them, if you're really in your zone and you're really connecting, they're going to show you something that surprises you. So the short answer to that question is there's no time frame. I started writing Miss Johnny in 1998, and I'm still learning about her. And I'm still learning about Darius Key. I'm still learning about Decadence, and that other book, Appalachian Assassin, about the country girl that becomes a killer. I'm learning about her. And I started writing about her in 1992.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and she still surprises me. I'm actually writing a sequel to that book, Appalachian Assassin. But that's not even the next book that's going to be coming up. The next book is going to be a team book. Because I'm a big fan of like the Avengers and X-Men and all that stuff. But for now, Decadence and Evoria, that's what I'd like the people to see.
All right. Well, here it is, folks, right here on Amazon. Decadence and Evoria. It's only $10 in paperback on Amazon. You can grab it, and it says here I could get it by tomorrow if I order within 31 minutes. So,
oh snap!
You won't have to wait. You won't have to wait a whole year for a campaign to fund and finish and all that. His book's ready to go and ready for you to read. Awesome. So thank you for bringing that here, and hopefully we'll get you a few more sales with our awesome audience tonight.
Well, thank you.
All right, and let's see. We've got Steph. Do we have your Kickstarter in the?
It's in the private chat.
Okay.
Yeah, Steph and I are co-writers on Heirs of Isildur, so
sweet.
Yeah, I actually have to jump off, so I'm gonna say a few quick things and then let Matt finish the rest of it. But Matt and I are in Symmetry Creations. We have a steampunk time travel series called Heirs of Isildur. We also have a medieval fantasy series that we did that was a spin-off from Heirs. That one was called Tales from Nocturnia. And then we also have an all-ages title called Misfits Clubhouse that is actually with Scout Comics all-ages imprint Scoot. But tonight we're here to talk about our current Kickstarter campaign for the current story arc for Heirs of Isildur called The Perilous Prospects. This is a continuation from the first story arc. There was a bit of a little bridge issue that came out a couple months ago that tied up some loose ends and some cliffhangers from the first arc. And so this one is picking up where that one left off. And the beauty of this one is that, yes, there were 11 issues before this, but you don't necessarily need to have read them to enjoy this story. We have a lot of amazing stretch goals and tiers and perks, because if anybody knows us, they know that we do a lot of wild and crazy perks, I guess you could say. The name is escaping me because I'm trying to do it as quick as I can here, but I'm going to let Matt finish the pitch because that'll probably be the best thing. We have 12 days left. I had it in my head what I was going to say, but now that I'm rushed, I'm.
Well, I can tell you this: the one thing that we knew for you guys, because there is the radio audience and there is the video audience, is that for the first time ever in 7 campaigns, we actually did a video where we actually talk about the campaign in the video.
Sweet.
So what might be a good idea, Steph, since you have to go, why don't you say bye now? Maybe they can play the video, and then now I can segue and I can kind of take it.
I'm gonna jump off. Thank you guys for having us, and Matt will tell you what it's all about.
Thank you guys. Steph.
Sounds great, Steph. Thank you.
So like I said, if you want to play that video, I think you guys are going to be able to hear a little more of Steph for 90 seconds telling us what it's all about really concisely in that video.
All right. Well, that'll be much more pleasant than you.
You're probably right.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon from Symmetry Creations. There's not much time. We've got some important information for you.
We've got to tell you about our brand new Kickstarter campaign for Heirs of Isildur, The Perilous Prospects.
This 48-page Perfect Bound book is the first part of an apocalyptic sci-fi story arc set in a steampunk world.
The apocalypse is rumbling through Shadow's Haven, and the only way to stop it might be through those who mistakenly caused it.
We are super excited to be able to unveil to you our brand new art team of Alessandro Ventura and Bruno Hang, who have helped to bring the universe of Heirs of Isildur up to the next level.
We've got super cool variant covers and glow-in-the-dark stickers.
And don't forget the cool shirts.
And as always,
a few fun surprises!
The campaign portal will only be open for a very short time.
So go to the quick link that's down below and back, follow, and share.
We here at Symmetry Creations,
the imperiled citizens of Shadow's Haven,
and the Heirs of Isildur
will greatly appreciate it.
Now, you guys don't have to worry about any of the music that's on there getting hit with copyrights and such, because that's all music that's on our album that actually goes along with the Perilous Prospects. So
sweet.
All our music on there.
That was a great video.
I just want to answer Vince real quick before he gets lost in the comments. He wants to know if anyone would be at Great Lakes Comic-Con this weekend. Will you be, Eric?
I'll probably be walking around as a civvy. I was on a wait list and I haven't heard back, so I'm not expecting to have a booth. But I am planning on coming out and walking around and looking at some comic walls and checking out and see who's all there.
Yeah, we were going to set up, but not anymore.
All right. Hey, so yeah, that was a really, really cool video there, Matt. I
appreciate that. We worked in partnership with Palma Productions, and we wanted, normally I'll do our videos, but I just did not have the time, nor did I have the wherewithal to come up with something creative. So we had them come in and work with us, and we're really happy with the way that thing came out.
Oh yeah, they did a great job. You were really well lit. I love the blue highlight.
Yes.
Coming in off of the side, the nice little rack focus they did for the tail end. Very well put together.
I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, we wanted to do something a little different this time. We'll probably end up doing that same style video every time now. Just it felt like it raised our game up a little bit. But yeah, we're really psyched, really stoked about this campaign. We thought it was odd that right now on 2/22/22 we're at 5555 at the moment. But this is a 48-page perfect bound book, so we're actually going to have it where there's actually going to be a spine. A spine, so you're actually going to have a title there, so you actually put it up there on your book rack. Like Steph said, the original arc was 11 issues for the Crossroads Conundrum. This one is going to be probably 3 issues, but the 3 issues are going to be about the equivalent of what you got in the first 11-issue arc. Okay. The way we've designed this, if you're someone who's been a fan of it up to this point, you're going to be able to feel like this kind of builds on the things you knew before. If you are someone that's new, you don't have to be intimidated about having this other story that was out there. Because we've designed this so this is its own autonomous arc. If you have the other information, you're going to be fine. It's great. But this is designed so somebody can pick this up and feel like, hey, I'm just getting into this story arc and it's awesome. You don't need to see all the 9 Star Wars movies to like The Mandalorian.
Right.
You might like The Mandalorian better if you haven't seen all the Star Wars movies, to be honest. But that's kind of how we look at it. We say, you know, there's always going to be, no matter what story you have, there's always going to be some other story you can have. Well, what happened to this character before they got to this point? You know, you can always go and dig. That's how we look at it. This thing is designed to be its own autonomous story. It is at the end of the Crossroads Conundrum. There's a catastrophic event that takes place. We see that from the viewpoint of a certain set of characters. When we get into the Perilous Prospects, we see how this catastrophic incident has now affected multiple different groups of people, including the characters that were in the Crossroads Conundrum. And they're all trying to figure out if there is, first they're trying to figure out what the heck is even going on. Then they're trying to figure out, is there any way to stop it? And each one of them has their own motivations for trying to stop, reverse, whatever the situation may be. And the whole crux of the entire story arc is going to be, can anybody figure out how to save it? Like Steph said in the video, the only way to stop the apocalypse might be through those who mistakenly caused it. And so that becomes a big part of the storyline. So it's a 48-page book. We have 5 covers. We have a super awesome Metalocalypse homage cover that Chris Rao did. We just yesterday unveiled, we have a leatherworking company that we do a lot of cross promotion with. We just unveiled their traveler's pouch that's going to be branded with our emblem on there that we've designed with them. And people have already really taken to that. Like, we had a big bump on our campaign yesterday because as soon as we revealed it, it just boom, 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 sold a bunch of those things because they would work well as D&D dice bags or part of a cosplay thing. If you're someone that wants to carry around potions so that you can, put a love potion on them or something like that, you might be able to do that too. Not endorsing that. Any kind of thing, poisons, any kind of medieval crap you want to have for somebody, you can put them in this pouch and be fine. We have the foil shirts that you saw in the video. We have crazy socks that we're doing. There's the pouch. There's 5 different versions of it. There's 4 that are actually color based, and then one is called the eccentric leather worker or something like that, and it's the eccentric craftsman, where they're like, we'll just get whatever wacky leather. They could do some kind of completely nonsense. They could do see-through, whatever's on their mind at that point, and that's what they're going to make it out of. And it's going to be all one-of-a-kind stuff when it gets to that point.
That's cool. There's your stickers, got glow in the dark stickers. The foil stuff looks really great.
Add-ons, we always make sure that anything from previous campaigns can be added on. Even the Kickstarted version of Misfits Clubhouse that we just sent all the rewards out for this a couple of weeks ago. But
I got mine.
Did you like it? Hopefully you dig it.
I did not get a chance to open it yet. But
what? You act like you've had other things going on in your house that are more
right? I know, right? But it is sitting on my kitchen table. It's on the top of the stack to read.
Good. Well, I hope your kid likes it too. We designed it so it's something for kids or kids at heart can get into that book as well. So I see you have it up here. You've stopped on the part about, didn't we offer colored vinyl? We did. We still have that stuff coming in. We didn't make the vinyl version an official part of this campaign because you think that other industries are bad when it comes to delays. The vinyl industry is freaking bonkers when it comes to delays on it. When we originally got the quote, they're like, yeah, it'll be 11 to 14 weeks. Then that turned into 14 to 18, then 6 months, and now 8 months. So like, we've actually fulfilled everything else in that campaign. We've run a Misfits Clubhouse campaign and fulfilled everything in that one. Jeez. And this book is going to be done by the time the campaign ends in 11 days. We are literally working on the last 3 pages with the art team. And if they literally did not have a mudslide that had literally had buses floating down the street because of the mudslide where they live in Petropolis, Brazil, we'd be done. But they literally had a natural disaster in their town. So they've, got FEMA stations set up at the end of their streets and all that. So that delayed us by a couple of days. If it wasn't for literally a natural disaster, we'd be done right now. But we're on the last 3 pages. So that one, we may end up fulfilling this campaign and the vinyl records at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Fingers are crossed on that.
All right. Well, hey, I'm sure all your backers understand a natural disaster. I mean, there's no way you're going to have your art team working in the mudslide.
Yeah,
But,
luckily they both were safe. And Petropolis Brazil's got a mountain in the middle. I think they both live on either side, and
okay.
it's just crazy. If you go look up Petropolis floods on Google and look at some of the images, you're going to be like, "What?" I mean, I couldn't believe the city buses floating down the street from the mudslide.
All right. Well, this is heirs of the
Heirs of Isildur.
Isildur. Sorry, my tongue gets scrambled sometimes. Isildur. Let's take a look at some of your different pledges, campaign tiers.
So we go everything from each one of the individual 5 issues, 5 covers. We'll put each one of them with a copy of the CD for the Perilous Prospects. We have some Draw Me Ins. We have some well-dressed ones where you get the shirt and the socks and different things like that. We'll bring in, the Tales from Nocturnia trade paperback. We do all kinds of stuff. We've already got 5 different people. Actually, now take that back. 6 different people are getting drawn into book 2. And we told them we couldn't offer up a Draw Me Into book 1 because by the end of this campaign, book 1's going to be done.
Right.
So we've already had 6 people pledge to get drawn into book 2. So that we're going to have some fun coming up with their characters, because our Draw Me Ins aren't always just a cameo shot. We do offer cameos, but if we say, hey, we're going to draw you in, we're literally going to make you a character. You're going to have a name. You're going to actually have a couple lines of dialogue. You might actually have a role in the story. It's going to be a secondary role, but you might actually have a role.
That's awesome. Pretty much anything for any price point. So there's no reason for our listeners to not back this. You've got the digital tier all set with PDF, and it looks like you're giving them like everything on PDF.
We've got everything on PDF. We've got tiers in there with PDF, and then both of our metal albums are in there as well. That's some of the tiers. We always try to make sure there's a tier at the very end where somebody's like, hey, you guys are cool. I want one of everything that you guys have in your inventory. We try to do that as well. So there'd be like 42 different covers from different issues that we've had, and different support merch, trading cards, whatever we can find, we throw them into a box and kind of go from there.
Yeah, it looks like quite a bit here. And, for a Draw Me In tier, that's $319. That's really, especially if it's not a cameo, you're getting actual little bit, you get more than a cameo on it. That's more than reasonable.
Yeah, we try to tell people, I think it says in the pledge there that we make sure you're at least on 2 different panels, and you'll have dialogue, and those 2 panels will at least be on 2 different pages. So we'll be like, hey, here's your 1 page and you're done. You'll at least find yourself on more than 1 page in the issue, and you'll have some kind of dialogue. What the kind of dialogue is, who knows? Whether you make it out of the issue or not, who knows? Some people may find their, a demise. It's a lot easier to kill people off in a medieval comic than it is in an apocalyptic sci-fi time travel comic. But there's a couple of spots where we already know that there's people that are not going to make it out, and there'll be fun reasons as to why they don't make it out. So,
well, I'll tell you, the book looks beautiful. You've certainly covered your bases in the tiers, and again, great video, great pitch. So everybody head on over to Kickstarter and look for Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects #1. You got 11 days to go. 117 backers, and that 555. That's one of those things. It's like you just want to kick it up, just break that a little bit. It's kind of like when you're on the 9s too. It's like, oh, come on, I'm so close.
That's right. We'll break it with whatever. Like I said, those traveler's pouches. We actually had somebody last night that said, hey, I want to get all of them. And they were like, you know what? I need Christmas gifts. And she's like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it right now, because these things look super cool. Like, there's a lot of people that play D&D.
Yeah.
And those things look pretty awesome. They're actually stamped with our emblem on the front, so they actually are branded merch. Well, like I said, she's like, I got D&D friends that would go freaking ape, be able to walk into their D&D game with one of these things and have their stuff in there.
Yeah, they're really, really chic. It'd be cool if some of the characters in the book had the same pouch.
Well, let me tell you there. So we did Tales from Nocturnia. We did the big dragon masks, and we made that completely meta, where we had a cosplayer that actually came to one of our shows as the Dragon Lord. We had characters in the issue wearing the Dragon Lord mask. We had a stall in a medieval market in there that actually were selling the Dragon Lord masks. So it was like life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. But yeah, can't say it's going to happen in this issue, but there's definitely a reason for why we are putting Michael's Traveler's Pouch as an item that's out here now, because it definitely is not something that's just going to exist in our realm.
Ooh, all right. Stay tuned for more, as they say. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt. Thank you for bringing that to us. And
absolutely,
everybody, check that out again. That's on Kickstarter, and it's Heirs of Isildur: The Perilous Prospects. All righty. Let's move right along. We've got, check the private chat here. Mr. Murph.
Yes, sir.
The Ballad of the Celestials.
Yes.
Let me bring this up. Boom. You want to say anything first? You want me to go ahead and play the video?
Yeah, go ahead, play the video, and then I'll talk once the video's played.
Sounds good.
Mankind is divided, and the Celestials are perched in wait. Because of this, an evil force arises to conquer the earth. Mare and his small group of warriors encounter this evil and are thrust into a crisis that will disrupt the fate of humanity.
Nice.
Thank you.
I like that. I like that backbeat in the music.
Yeah, that's my illustrator. That's his band. His band's called Ugly Tongue. So it's nice to know we've got tons of music to go with all of our campaigns. So it is very nice having that as a resource. And
that's really cool.
Yeah. So Battle of Celestials, it's our first comic book. It's 30 pages. Basically, every story will consist of 3 comics because it'll be 3 acts like a movie. So what you're getting, this is like the first act. So there's tons of action in it, a lot of explanation. You get a lot of the characters working together. We do have a main character for this, Mare. When you go down to the first cover, you can kind of see him in the middle. Now, it's always going to be a team book, so there really isn't a main character, but for this story arc right here, he's kind of the main. Things go around him. And so what's happened is in the past, about 3 generations ago, so this is our history. This is before the flood. This is before the continents broke up because of it. So you have Pangea, just one continent with all of these ancient cultures that we've had. If you go into any mythology, most people know about Greek or Roman or Norse, but Native American, Asian, Indian, Celtic, they all basically have this mythology that has a lot of things that go together. So basically, we're putting them all together to kind of tell the story of what went on with the ancient world and why we have the pyramids and the Great Wall of China and everything like that. So where this story starts is about 2 generations ago, there was this evil force that kind of came against all of mankind, and all of the cultures and tribes kind of had to get together to beat this force. And Mare, the character that you see here, this is our homage cover of Captain America versus Wolverine. So Mayor's kind of in the Wolverine slot, and the Beast is Captain America. Would be the Shield. And so Mayor, his grandfathers were big in that wartime. They were big heroes. So he's kind of left his hometown over the years, going to different kingdoms and cultures, kind of fighting, getting rid of any of this remnant from that evil force. And as he's done that, he's picked up this group of champions that have with him as he's been in these different areas. So he's very battle worn, and he knows a lot of pretty much people from everywhere. And so they're kind of doing their own thing here with the Beast. And once they deal with the Beast, a revelation happens, what kind of changes everything they're doing. And they're on the way to Mayor's home, and they intercept all these people you see that are here fighting. These are a group of individuals that don't believe humans should be behind walls. They feel like we should be animals and live out in the woods. So they try to destroy anything that resembles like a home or a house or a kingdom. And the guy with the fire, he's not really their leader. He just likes to burn shit down. So he's kind of just, he's with them. He's not really associated with them, but he's kind of the big bad, kind of the end battle of this book. And so we've tried to keep it simple. We've been listening to a lot of people with, us just being rookies. So we went with 3 covers for the campaign. All of the covers, we wanted them to actually exist in the story. Both of us always hated where you'd have a nice cover and then that would never take place in the actual story.
Right.
So all 3 do take place. So we have the team cover, which is our standard, where they were all together. Then we have the homage one. Yeah, that's the homage one. And then we have a wraparound. That's the one with Mayor fighting a bunch of guys, and then the guy with the spinning fire lamps. So yeah, that came out really, really nice. And so we have a lot of story to go through. What actually happened was, after I watched Lord of the Rings in the early 2000s, it inspired me, and I actually started looking for comic books that were very much like fantasy, and I didn't find much. So I kind of just started writing my own novel, and I ended up writing about 10 to 12, books. And I don't think I was ever going to really publish them, honestly. And my illustrator, Derek, I met him as a coworker, and we were at a training, and we were bored, and he was just drawing Batman, and it was really good for him just doodling it. And because of that, I kind of opened up stuff about my story and things that I liked, and he kind of just like, hey, let's do this. And, we've been working on it for the past 4 years. We were honestly just going to go to like little comic cons near us and sell it. We kind of fell into the whole indie comics online in the last 8 months, started a YouTube channel because people told us to do that, and we've just been listening. So even with this, it's a very simple campaign, 3 covers. We've hit our goal, which we're super happy about, with still having 42 days left.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Did you do a lot of groundwork, or was it just a complete surprise? Because hitting your goal in such a quick time with 58 backers, that's really good work.
I think just because we've listened to so many people, having the YouTube channels helped, because I think we have about 140 subscribers. We've been having that go for about 8 months. We've been went into a lot of YouTube communities, just being in the chats. And again, I think just because we listen to everybody, and I think a lot of people like what we're talking about, because there are people that actually know about like Middle Eastern mythology and how there's like giants and all of these things, and there's just so much that we can do with it. And I think people like the idea that this is our history. It's not a different Earth. This is kingdoms and places that happened, and kind of all of them are gone now because of the flood, except for those big things like the pyramids aren't destroyed, Great Wall of China, and that'll kind of all be explained as the story goes. And then, of course, the Celestials are their own thing. They are in the first book, but they're kind of in the background for now, just because we have so many characters and so much world building to do with it. So we are calling it fantasy, but I would say it's more mythology. So with mythology, you have a lot of beasts and hybrids and things like that. So you'll get pretty much anything that's in mythology is going to be a part of our books.
Real quick, I'm gonna get off here. I gotta go take care of the husband.
Sure.
I posted a whole bunch of links in the private chat that you can share out.
All right.
Yeah, and I am taking. I'm booking guests for starting tomorrow and all the rest of the months. I'm pretty much open. So if you or anyone you know wants to come on, and we got tons of different shows, just send me a message and I will get you or them booked.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hope everything goes well over there, and give Varian our best, and tell your kid hey as well.
I will.
It was nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you. I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good night, Princess.
Yep. Bye.
So yeah, I think we've been successful just because we've listened. We've kind of listened to everyone. We've even had a couple of our YouTube shows have other creators or guests kind of look through our campaign. What should we do? Because at first we had tons of ideas, even kind of different. Like I wanted to do this Celestial Sight type of edition, but everyone's like, you've never brought out anything. Make it simple, make it easy, just for ourselves and for the consumer. Because, it's hard for people to trust someone that's never put anything out. I guess in the past, there's been a lot of people that have kind of ruined independent comics online with people never fulfilling or being super late.
I wouldn't say it's ruined, but I think it's refined because when we started this whole thing with Comicsgate, with indie creators, with the push on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and it still is very much a Wild West.
Yes.
Of really kind of feeling things out and figuring out what's the best strategy. How do you build an audience? How do you reach that audience? And I totally agree with the whole, keep it simple for your first campaign. And it looks like you've got pretty much, like I think you've said, you got all of the pencils and inks are done.
Yes.
And you're just working on colors and then letters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good place. For me personally, I'm working on bringing Dreaded Dinosaur Man out as a book later on this year, and I want to have about 80% of the book done before we even think about launching a campaign and such. So it looks like you've pretty much got your art team's got this handled, right?
Yeah. And we're telling people that we're going to deliver 6 months after the campaign. We believe we can do better than that, but just because of everything that's going on in the world and hearing so many horror stories, we're just giving ourselves that much padding. Anyone who gets something physical, we're still giving them the digital, because the digital will probably go out first, and we don't want people for the digital get the story before the physical. So if they don't want to read the digital, they don't have to, but they'll still get it, so they don't feel like they're getting it late.
And you can get a digital copy for just $7. That's really good. That's really reasonable.
Yeah, it's hard with the prices because again, like you said, Wild West, it seems all over the place. The shipping's a big thing. And so the digital really was just because of the shipping. It's terrible overseas. It's just disgusting. And for our book, because it's one act, it's kind of hard to ask people to pay as much as shipping as they are the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, we love for anybody to get anything just for it to get in their hands, because we know it'll build on too. So if they buy the digital now, hopefully they're into it. Then that opens up to the second book. Maybe they'll get the first one physical down. When we get to the third book, we are going to try to have an option of like a 90-page graphic novel and then have 3 floppies as well. And because I have all these novels, the plan is each 3 is an arc to one story. Mm-hmm. So 1 through 3 is a story, 4 through 6, and then 7 through 9. And then 10 will be like an annual overarching all 3 stories into one. So if you buy books 1 through 10, it's its own story. Then 11 through 20 is kind of its own story or region. Then, 21 to 30, 31 to 40.
20. My goodness, you've got some big plans, my man. That's all. You are not messing around.
Yeah. honestly, with the money, we're just hoping to get more to add to the team. Because right now, Derek, my illustrator, he's the only one drawing, and that's what takes the most time. So hopefully we'll be able to get another person on the team. And we would really like to get maybe 1 or 2 out a year if possible. Just because so much time, not just making the book, but then campaigning as well. And then also then fulfilling. It does take a lot of time that you'd never realize it. But we're rookies, so we're basically learning daily. Just like you were all telling me about the cons, like we have no idea when it comes to that, or we're just trying to take everyone's steps that they give us.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love the concept for it. I love that you're trying to do the history of the prehistory stuff, because that's something that I'm also into. Like for just for relaxing, I will watch mystery history videos. And fall asleep to that stuff. So if I pick this up, I'm going to be looking for your artist to draw some polygonal masonry. Maybe you got you got Atlantis in here. Maybe
Atlantis will be in the book. Yeah, that will be one of the areas.
The giant Amazon mega city that they just recently discovered under the trees with LiDAR. There's so much fascinating stuff out there. Most people have no idea.
A city of giants in the Middle East. They actually think they might have found the gate for it because it was so big. Oh, there's because again, people think mythology. They think of Greek. They don't think of like Indian, and like the Indian. They have this thing where like written 5,000 years ago, there was a fire bomb that went off in the air, lit the whole forest on fire, and anyone near it lost their hair and fingernails. Well, that sounds like a nuclear bomb. It's like, how would they even know that back then? Like 5,000 years ago, that's written in their literature. So I definitely think our history had more than we realize, and they were smarter than what we give them credit.
Yeah, I'm sure you've listened to some Graham Hancock. He's pretty fascinating, but so this is great. It's really cool to see someone else out there thinking about trying to envision what this world was like before we had our giant reset of humanity. And this is really cool. So hopefully, you're already past your goal, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
you've got 42 days left, so you got plenty of time. Do the shows, do the groundwork, and build up your war chest for issue 2.
Yeah, so our next thing now is 3,000 for our first stretch goal. We have it there on the bottom. It's going to be a metal card of Mayor with his armor on it.
Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool.
And the cards are going to be for a future game, because the cards have something to do with the world as well. And so whenever it's a metal card, it's considered their armor. So it will be important down the road. Nothing soon with the game, but it has something to do with influencing the world with cards and things like that. So we'll always explain things. We'll have some magic. I'd say more supernatural than magic, but there's always a cost. It's not like Harry Potter where there's magic all the time and you do whatever you want. And it's more Lord of the Rings where there's not a lot of magic. When there's some cost. There's a reason why not everyone can do it. And so we'll do that more with the campaigns too, of things that deal with the world. So that's kind of, we got to make the card so we can start showing it and kind of hope that puts a boost to what we've been going on. It seems that's a big thing. Updates are the biggest thing to kind of get backers. So that's what we're going to do next for the days that we have left.
Sounds good.
And keep going on every YouTube I can get on.
I wanted to, I know Paul had to duck out because I guess he was still having some technical difficulty issues. So I wanted to bring up his campaign briefly before I do show wrap up. And so we'll take a look at what he's got going. Let's see. Cryptic Haze, a modern take on the monkey's claw.
Ooh.
And I'm going to let his video do the talking.
What would you do if your life was shattered by the one you loved the most. Follow writer Paul Gomez on his dark vision of Fantasy Island with a twist. What would you ask for? What would you do with the power of time? On Scott's darkest day, he answers those questions and deals with the consequences of his actions. San Espina's unique art presents Cryptic Haze. It's not always what it seems.
All right, it's definitely got an unsettling vibe to it. The art has this crunchy, meaty, like, I don't know. It's got a horror twinge to it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that soundtrack definitely set the vibe too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. He's got 28 backers, 14 days to go. He's at one of those annoying prices, $6.99. So, hey, if you're listening out there, let's get him over 700 because that bugs me. He's got a goal of 1,000, so he's definitely within striking distance of getting this funded. Currently at 70%, and plenty of interesting stuff there. This cover is crazy.
That cover looks awesome.
It's like an LSD acid trip visualized. Very, very cool. Plenty of pledges. PDF comic for $6. Digital deluxe package for $8, and then the print packages start at $10. Ships only in the United States, so our international viewers will have to go for the PDF, I think, on this one, and which isn't a bad option. You know, more and more people are used to reading things digitally now anyway. It's got multiple covers. Looks like an A, B, C, and D cover, and yeah, it's almost the coloring almost kind of reminds me of oil pastels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for radio listeners, when he's showing, I'm assuming this is the main character's face, but there's so many lines in the face that it's just this unsettling, psychotic-looking craziness to it. Plenty of packages. There's even a retail package. So four of cover A, 3 of cover B, cover C, mini prints and stickers. So plenty for comic shops to test it out. It's already sold out of some original comic art. That's always cool. Yeah. Look at his face. He's like crying with glasses on. All of these lines in the face. Looks almost like his face is a smashed sidewalk.
Man.
or broken glass. Definitely a trip here. Very cool, very cool. All right, and hopefully Indie Princess will be able to have him on tomorrow night on Geekgasm, get those technical difficulties straightened out and get some more on this, because this certainly looks like a pretty cool project. 14 days to go, only about $300 left to go, so I think he can definitely do it. Looks cool. Sorry he wasn't able to speak here in person. All right, well, that's going to do it for the main show. I do want to get to a couple of the things that Indie Princess left for me here. So we have, first up, as you know, Varian Grant. He's been through quite a bit with the stroke and a current relapse. So they do have a GoFundMe that's in the chat, and I'll just share it here. A goal of 4,000. They've raised 2,825, so well on their way to goal. This is to help out with all of the various medical expenses They don't have a car. They have to Uber everywhere they go, and that's very expensive when it comes to even things just doing like regular grocery shopping. But he's got multiple doctor visits that he has to keep going to. So that alone is a pretty big chunk of cost. And of course, all the other medical things going on. So take a look at that if you're so able to donate. I'm sure they will appreciate everything. They've had 58 donations so far. And so we thank you for everyone who's donated to that fund. And then you can also help out by going to the Indie Volt store and check out some of the merch that we've got on there. A lot of the fun, cool themed t-shirts. There's the Splooge Rags one that I designed. we had somebody write in a question and call us all Splooge Rags. So, of course, that had to become a t-shirt. Beck D's Nuts, Comic-Con Club. A lot of fun. Varian loves to play on things, so like the DARE program. He's got the Safe one. Resist Mainstream Comics, Serving and Education. Very cool. So that's another way that you can support the show and help pay the bills. And if you want to connect, you can connect with Linktree for Indie Princess. You can go to her page, Indie Princess /Linktree. Linktree is pretty cool. I got one too. You can go to mine and Dreaded Dinosaur. It's a nice way to have all of your stuff in one place, so it's easy to get to and easy to share. Varian's got one too. Looks like it's still under construction because it doesn't have a cool avatar yet. But hey, you know, these are great tools. I'm glad they exist. It's a really excellent way of sharing all of the information. I have mine on a little QR code that I do at my table, and people be like, hey, do you have a business card? I'm like, yeah, here, take out your phone, point it at this, and I hold it up for them, make a face, make some fun. You know, and surprisingly, a good number of people, that's the first time they've ever done anything with a QR code before. Like, wow, I didn't even know my phone could do that.
We have a banner that is the same exact design as our business card, but it literally is there. People are like, hey, do you got any business cards? Yeah, you can literally take a picture of that banner, and like, okay, cool, because if you take a picture of it, it's going to stay right there on their phone unless they actively delete it. So I agree with you there.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if they take a business card, they're just going to, you know, forget about it later on. But we've actually seen a lot more people when they have to go through the trouble of taking the picture with their phone and it's right there. There's been a lot more retention that way.
Yeah, you've given them enough time to commit it to permanent memory. You know, it's not just something they're going to be forget about. Like for me personally, it's like if somebody hands me a paper card and it's something I'm genuinely interested in, I put that in with my money bag. Yeah. Because I know if I put it anywhere else, I ain't never going to see it again. You know, something will happen. It'll just end up, you know, crumpled up somewhere, or I may not see it again for months just because I know who I am. So anything is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to remember that, goes in with the money. That way I never lose it. We do have, and I do want to say something about Liberty Entertainment Distribution, works with small local comic shops, taking in books. You set your own price as a creator. Local comic shops log in. They can shop from the store, and they only shop what's available in the warehouse. So you don't have a lot of wait time, and it's a good way to get into a few local comic book shops. Again, I want to mention Volt 10, great discount. You can get all your Gemini mailers, save a bunch of money on your Gemini mailers for all of your sending out stuff. I'm not sure if this is still one or not, but we have a energy drink mix company called Dubby, and they have a Indie Volt as the code too. You can save 10% there as well. And yeah, so lots of cool stuff that we've got going on. We've also got the Roku channel, and cool. You can see a video of my mural before it was painted over. Had a really great little presentation with DoorDash, and part of the thing ended up having my Dinosaur Man comic painted on a mural inside of a building downtown. And so they Varian filmed a little micro interview, and we got some good shots of it. That's on the Roku channel, so you can install that. You can also listen live on Streama Google Play stores. Look for the Indie Volt app on there so that you can be listening to us. You can send us hate mail at indievoltlive@indievolt.com. And please include Indie Volt Livewire in the subject. Keep it pithy. That means short. Email, keep it to 90 words or less so it's easy to put on the little card. When Varian comes back, he loves doing that. So we can read off the questions and in some cases make fun of you. And in some cases, it sparks some really good debate with all of our guests. And on that note, I want to thank my guests. And we're going to leave with starting with Adrian. Please tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, stalk you, buy your stuff.
Everything that you want to know about what I'm doing, what Jericho Projects is doing, is at Jericho Projects.
Right.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Jericho Projects.
Excellent. Mr. Matt Knowles, do the same.
So right now, the place we want you to go is tinyurl.com/heirs, which is HEIRS TPP1, heirs, the Perilous Prospects 1. That's going to take you right to the Kickstarter campaign that's got 11 days left. Really excited about getting this project out there into everyone's hands so we can unveil the first part of the Perilous Prospects arc. If you want to follow us on regular social media that's not on the Kickstarter side, you can go to insymmetrycreations.com. You can go to /insym, INSYM on Facebook, /insym creations on Twitter, and at Insymmetry Creations on Instagram.
Very cool. All right, Murph, you're batting cleanup.
Sure. So Ballad of the Celestials, as you saw, as Indiegogo. On Twitter, I'm at KJMurphy518. And then every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on YouTube, Murph and Durf duke it out.
Awesome. My name's Erik Hodson. I am the Dreaded Dinosaur Man. I'm at Dreaded Dinosaur on all the social medias. Please head over to Webtoon or Tapas and check out my comic, Dreaded Dinosaur Man. I am working on a print book. My plan is to get my series on Webtoon to a certain point once I get back on drawing it regularly. And from that point on, you're going to go to the print book. So I'm treating it kind of like a TV show. That's the Webtoon, and the book is the movie. And remember those days when we were kids, you'd see a TV show, hope they do a movie, and it's just like everything you ever imagine. That's the kind of the plan that I do here. So it gives a place for people to come in on Webtoon or Tapas, check out Dinosaur Man. If it's your thing, hopefully you'll come and back the book. I've got an action figure in the works, an NES game, which I hope to be able to have ready by the time I'm ready to get the book out on Indiegogo. Lots of cool stuff. And, of course, the Roddy Piper Kilted Avengers, available at Mess Bucket Comics. I'm working on the sequel to that, which stars the British Bulldog. And I'm about 10 pages done into that 50-page graphic novel right now. So hopefully I'll have more to report on that in the coming months. And until next time for Indie Volt, see you later, everybody.
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.